I still do. His full name is Jagat Ananda Pradyumna Kumar Mahanandya. A joyful name. Jagat Ananda means universal happiness, and Mahanandya means optimism. But this is not his full name. This is just the short version. Including all the titles passed down from grandparents, tribes, and caste, it runs to 373 letters. But who can keep track of 373 letters? His friends settled instead on 2. P for Pradyumna and K for Kumar. PK. PK's family never used any of his given names when they called out after the little boy as he ran through the village or climbed up high in the mango trees. His father used Boa, meaning little boy. His paternal grandparents always said Nati, grandson, and his mother chose Sona Bo, golden boy, because his skin was just a shade lighter than that of his siblings. His first memories of the village by the river on the edge of the jungle were from after he had turned 3. Or maybe he was 4. Or still only 2. Age was not so important. No one cared about birthdays. If you asked the villagers how old they were, their answers would vary and were never precise. Around 10, 40-something, nearly 70, or merely young, middle-aged, very old. However old he was, PK remembers standing inside a house with thick walls made of mud and a roof of yellowed grass. The picture comes into focus. Fields of corn with their dusty tips rustling in the evening breeze, and clumps of trees with their plump leaves set alight by flowers in the winter and heavy with syrupy fruit in the spring. A stream flowed through the village and into a large river, behind which a solid wall of foliage and branches rose up from the ground. It was the beginning of the jungle, from which came the occasional trumpeting of an elephant or the growl of a leopard or tiger. Wild animal tracks could often be spotted in the mud, along with piles of elephant dung or the imprint of a tiger's paw, accompanied by the buzz of swirling insects and the singing of birds. PK's horizon was the edge of the jungle, but his universe extended beyond it and into the woods, the village and the jungle. There was nothing else. The forest was endless, mysterious, secret, but also familiar and safe. It was an adventure and yet also a certainty, a comfort. The city was somewhere he had heard about but had never seen for himself. He lived in the hut with his mother, father, and 2 older brothers. And his father's parents, of course. That was how most families lived. Tradition dictated that the oldest son stayed with his parents even after he had married and started his own family. Shridhar, PK's father, held fast to those traditions. PK did not often see his father. He worked as the postmaster in Athmalik, the nearest town, which had markets, tea shops, a police station, and a jail. As the 20-kilometre journey was too far to cycle every day, his father had a room with a bed at the post office where he slept during the week. Every Saturday night he would make the journey home with PK's 2 older brothers, who lived in the town's boarding school. PK felt like an only child. During the week, his mother devoted all her attention to him. Most days, it was just the 2 of them and his grandparents in the house in the village on the edge of the forest. Sunlight flooded the village, breaking through the thick canopy that often kept the forest floor in relative darkness. Most of the houses were built in the same style. Round or rectangular huts of brown, dried mud, greying palm leaves and bamboo enclosures for the cows and goats. Beside them, vegetable patches had been cut into the soil and stacks of hay were piled up to be used for feed. There were some brick houses scattered around the village, built for the untouchables by the British in an act of mercy. But monsoon rains had destroyed these houses before anyone had been able to move in, and now they stood empty, their ceilings collapsed. Aside from this, PK's world contained only a primary school and another building where the village council meetings were held. PK's mother used to say that they lived in India's largest forest, and that Gondboda was its most ancient village. It was home, she said, to both the living and the dead. The sandy banks of the river were used as a cremation site where the souls of the departed gathered at night to sing and dance. A whirlpool in the river had taken 2 women in recent years, both newlywed and pregnant. She'd seen their bodies laid out on the beach, their foreheads embellished with dazzling red dots, shining symbols of their pure, unblemished lives. Their eyes were open wide as if searching for something, their mouths gaping as though they had screamed for help in their final moments. In reality, she told him, it was because that was how their souls had left their bodies. They had merely forgotten to close the door.